Hmm.
It's being live streamed. Got
It's just going straight to YouTube instead. Forget about the third party app. We're just going to do this instead. And now, let me make sure everything's muted so I don't hear me. Yes. I think we are live. Excited, finally. Let me just point everyone here. Please join us over here. See you soon. Why is it private? Oh my God, internet. Who's changed the settings? I don't want it to be private. Edit video. Get amongst yourself for a few seconds. I can't think about what is going on. Oh no, it is working.
You're actually live. Okay, just so you know.
It is working. It was saying it was a private video and no one could get in. But we're here. We made it. Finally. I can relax. I can stop sweating underneath. It's fine. We made it. Welcome, everyone, to the September 2023 Lightning Talks. I'm so excited to be bringing back the CBF Lightning Talks. It's been too long. It's been well over a year since we've done our last round of Lightning Talks. I'm truly, truly excited to bring them back because this is my favorite type of Coding Black Females event. We get banter, we get community, we get chat, we get to learn things. It's just good time all round. And we get to hear from amazing people doing amazing work. And what better than all of us to come along and celebrate each other and just be cheerleaders for an evening. So tonight, we have got 5 amazing speakers. You can only see 3 of us on the screen right now, but it's actually 5 of us. We have got talks about NFTs, data. The data talk's longer, but I keep telling everyone in the team it's called Data What, Data Who. That's not actually the name of the talk, but that's how I have it in my head. And with all that live streaming panic, I think I forgot my manners and I forgot to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Tanya. I'll be your host for the evening. I'm the CTO, co-CTO, I share that job role, don't forget that, of Coding Black Females. And we are an organization for Black women in technology. We have a bunch of events similar to this, some in person, some online, but we have events available worldwide at this point. We have a bunch of courses. We have boot camps, short courses. We have a lot going on at Coding Black Females. So definitely check out our website to find out a little bit more about what we do, what we're getting up to, what our future is, and what other services and offerings we're going to be providing to you in the future. We have 5 amazing speakers tonight talking about NFTs, data what, data who. We're going to hear a truth bomb about ADHD and being a Black woman in tech. We're going to be hearing about journeys into tech. We're going to be hearing about FastAPI. We're going to be hearing about a lot. And I am truly excited to hear everyone's talk. I've already got my notebook ready to take notes because I know I'm going to be learning a lot. I will have questions. If no one else will, I for sure will have questions. But anyone in the chat, if at any point you do have a question, drop it in there and we can ask the speakers at the end of their talk. And if there's any type of audience participation, put it in the chat. And if you want to celebrate someone and find out more about them, put it in the chat. Just communicate, celebrate, chat to each other in the chat. And if you're part of the replay crew, leave a like and a comment. And don't forget to subscribe. Okay, and on that note, I'm going to stop rambling and pass on to our first speaker of the evening. Can we get a nice virtual round of applause, please, for Candy?
Thank you so much, Tanya. Hello, everyone in virtual space. I'm so excited to be here tonight. I can't see you, and which makes me really sad, but I hope that you are all there and really super excited for all of these amazing speakers tonight. So I'm going to share my screen and I'll get onto it with our my presentation. Cool. So here we go. Technology is our friend. Yeah, amazing. So Tanya, if you could tell me if that is working, that would be amazing. If you can just confirm that that's working. Amazing. You can all see my screen. So yeah.
I can see your screen.
Thanks. So this talk is, we're going to just lay down the truth about ADHD and Black women in tech. Lots of myths out there, which are perhaps not the best, but we're also going to debunk those myths with the truth bombs and also start looking at how we can embrace the strengths within ADHD as well and leverage them for tech. So seeing that I'm on a bunch of different screens, we're going to see if this actually works. Cool. So that's me. I have a mixed Guyanese background. My mom's half Indian and half Chinese. So yeah, I think that's where the eyes come from, not sure. And I've got, and my dad is also of mixed background, but here I am. Right. So if any of you are from the Caribbean, you know already the context of how, our culture and all of that can impact on how ADHD is viewed. I'm curious about brains. I love neuroscience. That is like my thing. And ever since I was a child, I was just really interested in how people think and how all of us are kind of put together, really. Because I didn't understand the people around me at all. And probably because of that is because I'm dyslexic. So I don't have ADHD, but I am neurodivergent in a different way. I'm dyslexic and I also have dyscalculia, but it doesn't manifest in the typical way. And so part of my talk is going to be about how ADHD in Black women also does not manifest in the typical way. I got diagnosed as an adult after being able to read since I was 3 years old and working as a banker. That's how we found out. Numbers were a bit tricky for me. So yeah, in theory, I can code. Do I like to code? No. So that's where I am with that. But I am hilariously a coding bootcamp leader. So I used to be the head of personal development at Code Your Future, which is another coding school for women and refugees and people from other backgrounds who don't traditionally who aren't traditionally represented in tech. And I also helped run another coding bootcamp, which was a paid one called Constructor Labs. And that was another experience that I had. So I've been with you all on your learning journeys. If you are new to tech and if you're new to coding, I understand that space. And from there, I really decided that my understanding and learning about how people's minds work in their learning is really my passion and my calling. So I decided to focus my energies on ADHD coaching for women in tech. And that's why I'm here with you tonight. So what I want to do with this talk is just raise your awareness of what ADHD is about, how it manifests in women of color and people of color, some debunk some myths around what's going on within our society around ADHD. And then we're going to shift and we're going to transition to how does ADHD work as a strength when you work in tech. And then I'm going to offer you some practical solutions using tech to help manage your ADHD, but also to leverage your ADHD to progress your career in tech as well. So let's get into it. I just want you guys to all kind of really know this, that like, if you are a neurodivergent person in this webinar, if you have ADHD or autism or dyslexia, or Tourette's or dyscalculia or dyspraxia or any of these neurological conditions, you're not alone, first of all. But if you don't, and you're what's called neurotypical, you think in the way that everybody expects you to, just kind of understand that neurodiversity isn't a handicap. It isn't also a superpower, because people talk about that a lot, that it's a superpower, but it isn't either of those things. It's just that we're a bit different, and we look at the world differently, and we experience the world differently. And you might have felt that already in the workplace, either as a person who is neurodivergent or somebody working with someone who's neurodivergent. And so how does ADHD work? So it works in different parts of the brain, and in terms of different areas of the brain are impacted. So front of our brain, which is our sort of inhibition center, it really can be impacted with in terms of attention and behavior and emotional regulation. People with ADHD are not attention deficient. One of the strengths of ADHD is hyperfocus, actually. What people with ADHD struggle with is deciding or prioritizing where to put their attention, because they can attend to everything. They get lots of sensory information in, and it's hard to decide what's important, what's not important. Whereas people who don't have ADHD, which are often called neurotypicals, can filter out that information and just be able to do their work. Right, so on to the truth bombs. So one of the myths out there is that ADHD is just something that white boys have. And that's not true at all. ADHD can impact anybody in any culture, race, economic, socioeconomic area of life. All around the world, people have ADHD. It's not just a USA thing or a UK thing or anything like that. And to say that it's just a white people's issue really kind of hides and diminishes the experience that people of color, that women, Black women experience of ADHD. And that leads me on to my next truth bomb, which is that Black women are too strong to have ADHD. So one of the things that happens with ADHD is that women in particular are underdiagnosed. So the diagnostic criteria is not made for women. It wasn't researched by women. When the criteria for what ADHD was decided was based on little boys who lived in Middle America, and that being little white boys as well. And so the diagnostic criteria for adults was sort of born out of that. And then again, there isn't still a lot of research being done on lots of different other kinds of people. So it's not seen or recognized in us. And also this old trope of Black women being the superheroes, the ones who look after everybody, the ones who take care of everybody, also ignores the very real struggles that Black women experience with having ADHD. And the third truth bomb I'm going to share with you is that ADHD symptoms are not just laziness or bad behavior. They are just really looked at in through a particular lens, which is, I will say it, racist. It is. It is that the idea that often women who have ADHD are inattentive, so daydreaming, looking out of the window, not really paying attention to the stuff that's happening around them, can be construed as laziness if you're putting a sort of racial lens on what Black people do, on what kind of behaviors are appropriate. And bad behavior as well, being aggressive, being argumentative. I mean, if I could see you, I would imagine that you are nodding your heads in agreement that, the experience of being a Black woman who speaks up, who asks questions, who wants to understand, can often be one of getting a lot of pushback because we're too aggressive or we're seen as being too much of something. That possibly is neurodivergence. That is possibly ADHD, because neurodivergent people are actually extremely sensitive and extremely empathetic and extremely interested in right and justice. So when we see things that aren't right, we will ask questions. We will be affected by it more than other people might be. And to have a, to look at it from another perspective, or add on to that, that sense of being super interested in justice and it being interested in doing what's right is absolutely a strength of ADHD as well. Hyperfocus is one of the number one strengths of ADHD, is that people with ADHD can really deep dive into something, and in tech that's like a really valued characteristic, to be able to just like really look at a problem and just go, okay, I'm going to try to figure this out. Creativity is another real big strength of ADHD, and amazing problem solving. So tech is a perfect place for you if you do have ADHD, because the whole industry is set up to really be appreciative of your skills. However, the flip side of that is that in the workplace, it can be a bit challenging. I'm just going to actually, I've lost the slide, but that's okay. I'm just going to say that in the workplace, whilst those characteristics of ADHD are really valued within tech, there is the other aspect that the tech is very fast moving, it's very outcome oriented. You have to produce, you have to deliver, and that can be the place where it's challenging for people with ADHD. And so, the first thing I would say to you, if you have ADHD, if you've been diagnosed and you haven't told your employer, and I know that it's scary. I know that you're worried that you will be looked down upon, that people are going to think you're a liability in teams, all sorts of things. And that is very possible. But the other thing is, on the other hand, though, is if you don't talk about what is going on for you, you can't get help. And it's just you trying to manage all the time, which is incredibly draining and can lead to burnout, can lead to you moving and changing jobs just because it's just too much to manage every day. So, and because ADHD is a protected characteristic, it's classed as disability in the US and the UK, you can get, and your employer is meant to give you support around that, which are called reasonable adjustments. And, so that's one side, is that your work should support you. And then the other bit is that, all of us should be working on our personal development and thinking about how can we, do things better. If you're neurotypical or neurodivergent, that is something that I think if we normalize that personal development, eating healthily, going to the gym, or working out, getting exercise, fresh air, sunlight, all of those kind of things, if that's something that everybody does, then all the things that you do to manage your ADHD are part of your personal development. And so just a couple of technical solutions that I would offer to you is that the first one is to minimize noise. Workplaces can be extremely noisy, especially in typical tech offices, which are open plan. So, make sure that you have your noise canceling headphones, or you use white noise, or you use something else like that. And, lots of developers do that, is use music or whatever to be able to get into their, flow state or focus state. But also, if you use the headphones, it also helps you block out the noises around you. Another option would be to, sorry, just bear with me 1 second, I'm just checking my notes, is to use some kind of time management system. So, if you're using the Pomodoro technique to time box your focused energy, that's a really good way to actually get yourself able to do your work in a more efficient way, rather than trying to kind of So there's lots of different kinds of Pomodoro timers. There's also a very interesting app called Llama Life, which was developed for ADHD as well, and which is a very interesting tech startup company. And so those are a couple of things that would just really get you started. And obviously contact me if you want to have more information on how you can use tech to kind of support yourself. Yeah. And finally, because my time is almost up, I just want to just offer you some, that the idea that being different is the thing that's really important, and that's valued in, or asked for in tech companies, and that the experience that women are having, Black women in the tech industry, is one of challenges, is one of multi layers of challenges. So, but in that, ADHD has strengths, not just always challenges. And if you focus more on the things that work for you, that you can optimize on, work actually could be a bit better and a bit easier for you. And so that is the end of my talk. And I really appreciate you, and I've had such a great time with this. And so any questions out there? I think I can just leave this slide up, but yeah. Tanya, are there any questions in the chat?
Before we get questions, can we get a massive virtual round of applause for Candy, please? Thank you, Candy.
I'm so sorry, you couldn't even see me. I'm just like a light. There we go.
We can see you. We can see you. Don't worry. You're in the top right-hand corner. We can see you. So yeah, cool. I think your talk really resonated with some people. So we had Kelly in the chat saying that Kelly has Tourette's and autism, and she said that it all sounds so similar to autistic women and girls with the misconceptions and low diagnosis. She also said that diagnosis is often late for women and girls for autism and Tourette's as well. Yep. So it really resonated with her, what you were saying. It sounded very familiar and similar to her experience.
Absolutely, which is really sad. Unfortunately, very sad. Yes.
And then Serafina said that she wishes all primary schools, primary teachers can get the opportunity to get training around this. It could save a lot of girls, ladies who get misunderstood or treated badly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is that, what happens with Black women in particular is that we have not only the who we are as ourselves with whatever our neurodivergence is, we have so many layers on top of that. And what people tell me, my clients tell me, is that I don't even know who I am, because I have the cultural expectations, in my family, you had to get good grades. No matter what, you couldn't bring bad grades home, so you had to find a way. So, even me with my dyslexia, I learned in university that if I was in a class that I wasn't interested in, I was not going to do well. And that was okay in that point. And I reflect back now on the things that I did badly in school was because I couldn't get over that last hurdle, which was the writing part. And that's where my dyslexia is really a challenge for me, is the writing part. I can do the research, I can gather all of the information, I can do all of that. But then picking out bits and putting it all together is the hardest thing for me. And so I struggled a lot in school in that respect. But because I was really smart and I could do all these other things, people didn't really kind of see it or notice it or whatever. And that often, and I hear that a lot from women who have ADHD. It's like, I got it together somehow because I had to, because there was this pressure from my family that I had to do it. So, or, the other thing is that they were just classic. They just didn't do anything. Which again, and then suffered tremendously because of that, because they couldn't, achieve the things that they knew they could, but also all of the pressure from, family and school and all of those other things, because they couldn't do the things that they wanted to do as well.
So Candy, you're a coach. Can you tell us a little bit about your coaching services?
Sure. So I'm an ADHD coach where I support people, women in particular, who work in tech, around their ADHD and kind of really understanding what's going on, what's your flavor of ADHD. And then, because everybody who has ADHD, if you've met one person with ADHD, you've met one person with ADHD. You know, my dyslexia is not the same as other people's dyslexia. And I'm not a dyslexia coach because I only know mine. I only know how mine works. I don't know how anybody else's works because I've spent 30 years, 30 years. I know I don't look 35, do I? But you know, learning about how people's brains work and learning about ADHD. So the way that I work is really around giving you skills and understanding what's going on for you, being able for you to be empowered with a community of other people like you. And then once you have the tools, then you and I will work together individually to make a plan on how you're going to sort of like put all this stuff into action. So that's kind of how my coaching works. And if any of you are looking for an ADHD coach, I would just say that really do a good interview with them, because there's lots of people out there saying that they're all kinds of coaches, but they don't actually have the in-depth knowledge that is needed to really support you well. So really make sure that your ADHD coach really understands the science, really understands how it manifests culturally for you as well, really has that understanding. If it's me or somebody else, that is the thing I'd really encourage you to do, is really interrogate them and make sure that you feel comfortable with them as a human being, first of all. Make sure that they understand you, because the first thing you should always feel after you speak to a coach is, I feel seen.
Yes. I think that's for any coaching or even mentoring situations. Make sure you feel seen and you feel validated with whatever reason you have gone to their services.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a question from Gemma. She's asking, can you please say the name of the app you recommended? She didn't quite catch the name.
Oh, it was probably Llama Life. So, you know, the animal. Yeah, Llama Life. So it's a scheduling app which has an integrated Pomodoro timer. There's lots of other features that they've just added to it. It is a paid app, but I would say to people who are wary of paying for things or whatever, I would say that if it's going to be the difference between you actually getting your work done and not getting your work done, it's worth the whatever £7 a month or whatever it costs, because the cost of time that you're losing at work or whatever it is way more than that. Especially if you're a developer, you're getting paid way more than that an hour. So it's absolutely worth it. And the thing is that we need to invest in ourselves. And we also need to invest in companies that are trying to do right by us as well. And so that would be my last thing to say, is the call to action, is that if you're a developer, start making stuff to help fix the solutions and, you know, make solutions that we need. Yeah, not just, you know, make money for Facebook or whatever. Well, or, you know, any of the other things. Sorry. Thanks, Sadeeq. I'm just saying, you know, yeah, put your mental energy into something else that's going to really benefit us. I just talked to another developer. We were talking about, how do you get into tech and all of these things that help you increase your confidence. And we talked about side projects, and one of their side projects is doing some kind of thing to help manage their ADHD as well. So yeah, that would be what I say. But Llama Life is one of them. But you know, Notion's great for helping organize your life. And there's lots of other ones. So get in contact with me if you want some more.
And for those of us like me who are lazy and don't like to read, could you tell us how to contact you?
Sure, absolutely. So because I'm of a different generation, I won't say I'm old. I'm a different generation. I'm just getting to grips with the old social media. But you can contact me on Coach Candy DeRoy on Instagram, or you can email me at coaching@candyderoy.com. My website will be up one day. And if you want to get free coaching in exchange for getting my website sorted out, that'd be great too. So,
That sounds like a great deal, actually. So any devs in the chat who wants to get some free coaching, well, I say free, in exchange for some coaching,
in
get
exchange,
Candy's
yeah,
website back up.
Yeah, exactly. Or on LinkedIn as well. So Candy-DeRoy. You can find me there as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Candy. This has been incredibly informative and entertaining at the same time. We appreciate your time, your effort, your energy so much. And we will continue chatting about this. I've got so many questions, but I didn't want to take over the whole stream asking all of my questions. So you might get an email from me.
That'd be great. No worries, Tanya.
I've calmed down now after a lot of technical difficulties earlier. I think I'm a bit centered. I'm a bit zen. Replay crew will have no idea what I'm talking about because I'm going to delete the first part of this live stream as soon as it's over. But next, we have got the wonderful, the amazing Sadeeq. Sadeeq, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Candy, I think you've got to stop sharing your screen.
Yep. On it.
Thank you, Kami. Can we please get a big virtual round of applause for Sadeeq?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Initially, I was kind of skeptical if my invite will be accepted, but thankfully you did graciously. So thank you for having me. Well, can you hear me? All right.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen now. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Awesome. Okay, I can see anything now, but that's okay. I think that's Zoom. So first of all, because I couldn't see anyone on the screen, I mean the audience, and I really love to have interactive sessions. Like I want people kind of contributing to what I say, and me believing that we're on the same page. So I would love that, if anyone is in the data industry, they should kind of put what they do in the chat just to make it interactive. I will be looking into the chat to see what people are doing, what interests people have in the data industry. And, if you probably want to move careers from one area of data careers to another, just let me know. Hopefully we will catch up on that and hopefully base some of our questions on that. So just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Sadeeq. I am a data and analytics specialist customer engineer at Google. So I'm based in the UK. I've been here for about maybe 2 years now doing data at Google. But prior to then, I've been at Microsoft for about 1.5 years. Same thing, working on the data on data infrastructure. So I think this is a topic that is really close to my heart. I mean, introducing and explaining what people do in their data in their capacity as data professionals. And I've also been able to kind of mentor a number of people in the industry, especially people that are just getting into the ropes of which area of data do they want to get in. And one thing I've noticed is people, the question of, what should I study? How should I start? I want to work on data. What should I do? Where should I start? So I've seen this question a lot, and I believe it's something that could be worth discussing. So that's the reason for my topic today. So popular data analytics career paths, the required skills and prospects. So okay, Zoom. Okay, yeah. So the first question is, what is data analytics? And this is something that this is the first thing I try to clarify with people a lot, especially when people kind of mistake the word data analysis with data analytics. And I see that it's something that it's a mistake that is done by a lot of people. It's not intentional, but of course the words are similar, but they really mean totally different things. So I will start with data analytics. So data analytics, I would read from here because I already have Bard give me a number of this so that I don't have to do a lot of research. So data analytics is a multidisciplinary field that employs a wide range of analysis techniques, including maths, statistics, and computer science to draw insights from data sets. So it's important to note that definition because what this tells us is it's like an umbrella of field that have different subsegments, and we will be looking at those subsegments later. But really, what does data analytics? What does it comprise of? One is descriptive analytics, which is what has happened in the past. We have a list of we have the data of what happened in maybe like 2 years ago, and we want to look into, okay, fine, what happened, who scored a certain goal at so time. These are the kind of things that you just look into the data of the past, and then you want to make sense out of it. The next thing is why did it happen? So now we're querying the kind of the content of the data to see what really happened and why has it happened. So now we're bringing different data sources together, we're bringing different information sources together just to make sure that we're getting the whole data picture. The next one is, predictive analysis. So this is, you have, and this you would see probably this with a lot of recommendations. So if you watch Netflix or if you watch YouTube videos, you probably watch maybe 2 or 3 or more, a couple of videos, and then the next thing you see is the next time you log in, because you've watched those videos, certain other videos are kind of recommended to you. So this one is using the information of, what you've done in the past and then to predict what will happen in the future. So for you to have watched some videos, you probably would love to watch these other videos. So these are like predictive analytics and predicting the future. What can we make? How can we make it happen? So now this is you trying to gain different things, with different scenarios. Like, okay, if you if you combine a number of things, is it going to give you this outcome? Trying to gain things together, bring different data points together, just so that at the end of the day, you're getting the results that you're planning for. In medicine, people say, experts say that, we don't have to test, with animals anymore, just so that we can achieve that level of, accuracy that we're looking for. Right now, data analytics has given us the opportunity to, because with the previous experiments, we've recorded a lot of data. Now we can put that data into simulation, and simulation essentially means you're gaming things here and there just to make sure that you have the right combination that gives you the best result. So in a nutshell, that's data analytics, right? But let's stop. As I was saying, what's data analytics? What's data analysis? Like, these things they sound familiar. Like, what's the difference? And this is what I want to really clarify. Now, I've gotten some definitions here that actually tells us what data analysis is. So I won't really go back to data analytics because I think I've explained that. What I want to explain is, one, the primary goal is for data experts, including data scientists and engineers and analysts, to make it easy for the rest of the business to access and understand these findings. Now, if you want to define data analysis, like I said, it's a very small subset of the umbrella of data analytics. So it is one slice of the data analytics pie. Data analysis consists of cleaning, transforming, modeling, and questioning data, to get the right information that you want. Whereas, data analytics, if you remember all those different steps that I was explaining the other time, it has a lot of other things, which includes, building machine learning models to help you kind of predict what would happen. So that is not included in data analysis, but that's the umbrella of what data analytics comprises of. So now that we understand, the difference between all these two core definitions, it will be important to to see, okay, fine, which career path should we follow, which is the essence of this talk. So there's a whole lot of things out there, machine learning engineer, data scientist, and all those things. What does it mean? What do they do? That's the essence of this session. So the first thing we're going to be discussing is the data analyst itself. So remember, I mentioned data analysis. So whoever does data analysis is called a data analyst. So basically the role description, it's the same as what I mentioned all the time. The person collects data, organizes data, studies data to provide insights to the business. Just a quick side note, before coming to the UK, and I was based in Nigeria, so I'm a Nigerian. I'm based in Nigeria. I was working there, and I was working as a software developer, right? And I was working with this company. It's like the London Stock Exchange of the UK, but that of Nigeria. So I was working as a software developer, and I have my responsibility is to develop software, and I do that. But some time along the line, we start having, of course, it's a financial exchange. So you have systems like Bloomberg, Thomson Reuters, and you have a lot of data from the systems. It got to a point where we have to get data from different sources, these different sources, and then externalize it to people that will use them. So even as a software engineer, I was working on these tasks, but I never regarded myself as a data analyst or a data engineer. It was long after I have kind of left the role that I started realizing that, what, actually I was wearing like multiple hats, and I would kind of describe those hats in some of the examples that I'll give later on. But one of them was data analyst. Even though my role was a software engineer, some of this data that I gather and I clean and I do a lot of sort of cleaning transformation, at the end of the day, when I kind of give it to people to use, organizing it for people, I'm analyzing the data, running SQL queries on them. So basically, what are the required skills to be a data analyst? You definitely need a strong analytical skills. Like you should be able to see the value in data, see what's hidden in data, see, getting different sources of data together to make a good conclusion. So then you also have to have a good problem solving skills. The understanding is that, you just can't grab any data and use and do something meaningful. You need to be able to know what the problems are and how you can use the data to solve that problem. So if you don't start from knowing what the problems are, you definitely wouldn't be able to analyze the right data in the right form to solve the problem. So you need to have problem solving skills. Data mining skills are really important. Like I mentioned, Bloomberg is a totally different system. Thomson Reuters is a totally different system, and the trades that happen on those systems are totally different. And one of the problems that I had was to mine these two data together and see similarities, especially with institutions that are trading on these two systems, just to combine data from two very large sources. So it's important that you have those data mining skills so that you're able to combine data when it's needed, because the best information you can have is the fullest information that is available. If you have, data in different silos and you probably don't know how to put them together, you would be having limited information at the end of the day. So SQL, some people call it SQL. So SQL is structured query language. It's very, 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 very important. So it's a tool that must be at the fingertips of everyone who is a data professional at varying levels of expertise, but to some extent you need to understand how SQL works. And then you might start looking at Python. Sometimes some of your problems might not really sit down inside a spreadsheet or a database. Some of them might go beyond some of these files, and you probably need some programming skills to be able to deal with them. So having a Python skill, almost every data professional, to some extent, love Python, and they try to use Python for a number of this task. So, and if you're not using Python, R is a very good alternative So you can use R to do your thing. At the very least, however, if you don't know any of those programming tools, it is really important to understand the use of Excel. Of course, Excel is the level of understanding of Excel is in different levels, like beginners to intermediates to advanced. The more advanced you are, the more quickly you can really solve a lot of your problems. And honestly, a good number of data analytics analysis tasks can actually be solved on a spreadsheet, because not so many industries use the big data. So a lot of your data kind of live in a spreadsheet, and you know, the more knowledge of Excel that you have, the more you can solve those problems. And then, you know, any other visualization tool like Tableau is also good. So I wouldn't really want to go much into details, because this profile is just like, you know, a sample of what a data analyst looks like. It's not really, I mean, a lot of people come from different backgrounds and use data analysis, and they become naturally data analysts. For the beginners, it's not so much of a salary. Sometimes it's very much on the lower side, because it's really at the base of, you know, the data careers. So probably have a starting around, you know, 25 thousand pounds. But sometimes as you grow in that career, you really get to begin as much as you can. The next one I want to talk about is business intelligence analyst. So basically, it's really not so much in the different from what a data analyst do, because there's a whole, I would say, 80 to 90% of intersection between what a data analyst do and what a business intelligence analyst do. But one thing that is very certain is, while, you know, data analysts focus on, you know, writing SQL queries and doing things like that, it is very, very important for business intelligence analysts to make sure they visualize their reports. So for this one, I would say there's a whole lot of stress on, you know, the data visualization part. You must be able to do reporting. You must be able to visualize your data or externalize the data to business people who really need to see the data in a very much more simplified format. So visualization is really, really important. And I would say, I mean, out there these days, I would say that there's a whole lot of you know, visualization tools out there. You have Tableau, you have Power BI. Of course, Excel is really, really good for those that are very much used to spreadsheet. Then for people that really want to go advanced, especially building advanced kind of a BI system, you're probably looking at Looker. Looker is a product of Google that, you know, you build your modeling layer, and then you can start building on top of that. So there's a whole lot of visualization tools out there. So for a BI analyst, it is really, really important for you to know that visualization part and know the tools, at least know one tool, whether it's Tableau, whether it's Power BI, whether it's Looker, whether it's Excel, whether it's Google Sheets. Whichever one you're using, make sure you know how to use it best, because it's just a tool that you cannot afford not to know. Like I said, every other thing is almost like what a data analyst does, except for that visualization part. So it's really, really important to know that bit. Now, the third one is the data engineer. Now, this I used to call myself, now that I moved from Nigeria and, you know, I moved to Europe, and I started really working, because then I transitioned from the core software development into the data industry. I actually decided to take a master's degree to aid my transition. So I did a master's degree in data science and advanced analytics. And at the end of my coursework, I started working in the industry. I worked as a consultant. And I decided that, you know what, I want to kind of focus more on the engineering bit. So what does a data engineer do? You are the one who builds the data pipeline. So there are different, you know, a lot of the organizations that you work with, they have different data in different sources and formats and speed and capacity in terms of, you know, who produces data and who uses them. And at the end of the day, your job is to, you know, get this data together and make sure that at the end of the day, when you're giving the data to the people that will use them, because you as a data engineer will be the one to feed your data engineer, your data scientists, your ML engineers, your business users, the data analyst, you will be the one to feed every other person. As you can see from this diagram, you have data from different sources, your web applications, your IoT. IoT is Internet of Things. So if you have like a streaming system, or you have your OLTP, that is your transactional databases, or you have different systems that are generating inputs. That's what the ingestion means. And then you being a data engineer, you're the one that does the ETL, the extract, transform, and loading of the data. What you do essentially is when you load the data, finally the L of the ETL is to get that data organized well in whether a data warehouse or even building the API. Sometimes some organizations require that. They don't want the data sitting down in just a data warehouse. They want people to use the data from an API. So you probably would be the one to build the API, just externalize the data in any form that the business requires. So that's your job to feed all those people, and then you will feed the analytics part of your organization, which are the people that build the machine learning models. They build data applications. So you're basically the how do I call it? The Andres Iniesta of your team. So you absorb the input from everyone in the back end, and then you feed those guys. I'm sorry, the reference is to people that know about football, especially people that support Barcelona. I don't support Barcelona, but it's okay. So basically that's what a data engineer does. They kind of organize the data and keep it alive. So there are some skills that you really need, and there's a whole lot of them. And I'll mention that in the next slide. Shout out to this very amazing woman who took her time to generate the data engineer roadmap. Her name is Alexa Abbas. She not only designed this data engineer roadmap, she wrote about it extensively. And this is like, whoever wants to become a data engineer, this is just one page you need to go. And I kind of put the link down here. Just go to this page and then try and follow that roadmap. You don't have to follow it from A to Z. Whatever you can learn in between, you can. Just know that this is a roadmap, and for you to become a seasoned data engineer, these are things that you need to touch on. Whether it's in 6 months or in 1 year, you need to have an idea of some of this or most of this products, just so that you are well equipped to do your data engineering. So I won't really talk so much on this, but great shout out to Alexa Abbas. There's actually one of our courses that I also bought, which is an Apache Airflow, and it's really, really amazing. So you can have the link. If you want to become a data engineer, this is just enough for you to do your roadmap. One thing I used to tell people that approach me to say, what, I want to go through this path. I want to become a data scientist. How best do I do this? This picture alone is just good enough for me to walk people through how to become a data engineer. I struggle with the other ones because now I have to do those research, but this woman has done amazingly documenting all these parts that, if you want to become great in data engineering, these are things that you need to focus on or to touch on, just so that you can use them all through your journey. So data scientist, it's not me. It's widely known that the data scientist job is the sexiest job of the 21st century. This has been the case for a number of years now, more than a decade. And it's still the leading, the job that everyone wants to be. So what does a data scientist do, and what should you have? Again, you do a lot of the things that a data analyst does, but you do so much more. So you need to have a knowledge of computer science, some maths and statistics, and then you need to fully understand a lot of machine learning, because you will be using machine learning models to build your to do your data science. Then you should have an idea of software development as well, because if you will be doing a bit of integration, then you need to start know how to kind of research on, especially if you're working on certain kinds of problem. You need to know how to research in those domain, and that's where the other one comes into play: domain knowledge. You can't just be like a data scientist you need to know what exactly that field is. For example, if you're given like eyes data sets, like the eye images, the medical images for eyes, to distinguish between what which of the eyes has like is healthy, and which of these eyes is not healthy. You need to understand some rudiments of medical terminologies around how things happen in the biology, in the medical field, as far as eyes science is concerned. Because if you don't know that, no matter how good your models are, you're just not going to solve a problem. You're just trying to analyze data, and that's not the goal. So there's a whole lot of things that you should know, and that contributes to the domain knowledge. So it's important to have that to be able to thrive as a data scientist. So usually you will see data scientists for specific themes. Some people do marketing, some people do recommendations, some people do text to speech and things like that. There's specific data scientists for those areas because they have to understand the domains. So once you understand the domain, then you can now apply your data science knowledge to help those products. So who is this data scientist, and what does she do? What does she know? How does she do this data science of a thing? So like I said, maths and statistics, machine learning, programming, database, visualization, and communication. These are things that you should know, because at the end of the day, you will be communicating with a number of people within your team. So it's really, really important to have a web of all the skills. And I'm not surprised, because looking at it, having 35,000 to 70,000, it's not a small thing. So certainly there's a whole lot of things to learn, but at the end of the day, it's a really rewarding career. So I think it's something that is worth doing. Now, I would really not want to spend much time on machine learning engineer, because they essentially do almost like 80 to 90% of what a data scientist does. The only difference is a machine learning engineer is working towards production. So there's a statistics that say that about 30 to 35% of models only gets to see the daylight, only get to be in production, be used in production. So it's the job of machine learning engineers to see that from day one, while you're building this models, you're not just building them to try them, to test them. You're building it from day one, and you're targeting the production environment. So it's and the approach that you do your data science thing will be kind of different, because from get-go you will be using CI/CD, like that's continuous integration, continuous deployment. That you'll be using a lot of Git and cloud to do a number of things. So it's really important to know how to work in those kind of different roles. But essentially, some of the things that they do are very, very much interwoven. You use almost the same tools, you use almost the same platforms. So but the difference is really in the role description, where you are really targeting production environments, and you'll be doing a lot of ops. So, and that's why we have something like ML ops, which data scientists don't really do. All they want to do is create a model to test things and see how things work. But for ML engineers, they are really from day one, they're targeting models that will live on production. So all those practices and tools have to be in their toolkit. And it's a really, 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 really rewarding job role. So a lot of people tend to kind of get into that industry. But I mean, you will see a number of them having PhDs, having masters in computer science domain, or other domains that kind of need to use data science and machine learning to get to this research level. So it's really important to know that it's not trivial to acquire those skills, and it takes a bit of time. So, but it's not doable. So now, again, there's a difference between machine learning and data scientists, but I will want to mention, the similarities, which is, you're familiar with Python, you use the same libraries, they both use the knowledge of their knowledge of statistics and machine learning and computer science. They both communicate with their teams. So there's a whole lot of similarities and just a few kind of differences. The next thing I want to mention is, the BAs, the business analysts. So basically, these ones are the ones that work with the users, like they work with the owners of their application. So they are professionals, and they also kind of analyze data based on the business, the data of the business, just to know where the business needs some input and how to quickly organize that input so that the business can progress. So BAs are specialists. You probably don't. A lot of BAs don't do so much of programming or even data analysis, because there are so many methods in the BA practice that you need to kind of be familiar with. And thankfully, there are tools to help you to do this effectively. So if you probably don't want to code, and that's where you see a lot of people say, I'm a non-tech in tech. So there's a lot of roles that are kind of non-tech in tech. Well, when people say non-tech in tech, they usually mean non-coding in tech. So these are some of those roles. Business analysts and are really highly paid as well once you get to that level of expertise. But it will be good if you understand the way to analyze data, especially if you're working with very large businesses and you're able to communicate, effectively with role and task owners, just so that everyone knows what they do, what they need to do, and you're on top of everything that they're doing, and you're kind of bringing things together and making informed decision for the business. There's also marketing analysts that, of course, it's really based on the marketing side. One thing I want to mention here is there's a whole lot of tools that also help you do this job. And in the heart of it is, data analysis as well. So your Excel or your Microsoft Office suite, it should be kind of top notch. If you can do SQL, it's really, really good. But if you can, that's fine. A number of the things you will be doing will be done inside a certain tool. So, and that's where, you use tools like, GA, GA4. GA is Google Analytics, and a lot of businesses use Google Analytics. I know there's another product on Adobe and other similar toolings like that. But, if you want to start out, I would advise that, you probably go with GA because the product is really known, and a lot of industries already take it as a standard. So financial analyst, of course, this already gives it away. You probably analyzing financial data. Your Excel again should be top notch. You probably don't need to know so much of SQL, but if you know them, that's fine. But basically, this is like a domain specific role. So you probably will be dealing with a number of data, but financial data. So obviously you will need the knowledge of, what financial, information mean, and you'll be able to interpret them based on, standards of the industry. Now, I've mentioned a lot of roles, about 8 of them now, and I don't know if you probably made a decision like, okay, fine, I think I know exactly what I want to do, where I want to go. And if you've not, I think we can just go through this. So again, I know I'm running out of time. I'll just quickly mention this. There's a number of ways that you can know which roles that you probably love to do, or which roles you want to get into, because if you're probably undecided, maybe a number of these responsibilities would help you identify which roles that you should get into. For example, if you love data exploration, if you like to prepare data, you're probably tending towards the data analyst role. If you are like, okay, you love to develop models, but you don't really love working in production environment and things like that, you're probably kind of a data scientist. If you love doing ML ops like CI/CD and things like that, you're probably tending towards being an ML engineer, and that gives it away to some extent for you to identify what roles probably looks good on you. And if you're not able to make that decision, probably a decision tree can help you to do that. So again, if you're like implementing data storage, if you're doing like, storing data and keeping data and organizing data or creating data infrastructure, maybe a data architect. If you're running predictive analytics, maybe a data analyst, and already things are already mentioned. to be an ML engineer or a data scientist. There are also a lot of other roles that has to do with analyst or analytics and things like that, that in the that are kind of domain specific. What you would need is a combination of your data analysis understanding and also the domain knowledge of that industry, and then combine them to be like a subject matter expert with analytics as a cherry on top. Lastly, there is, when companies are looking out for people to hire in different roles, there's actually a need from their side. So if you really want to fit into some of those roles, you really need to look at what's what's the company's need level, and see what you can offer. So if you're probably someone who loves to build data infrastructure, or whether working with structured or unstructured data, then you're probably kind of the data engineer kind of person, because that's what those company needs, and that's maybe a title that fits you. It's the same for every other one in this hierarchy. So you can just probably look at them and see where you fit, and make sure you tailor your expertise towards those areas. These are links to learn so much more on any of those things that you may be interested in. I'm not that smart. A lot of those things I saw online, and at the end of the day, I talked to my good friend Bard, which did quite well, more than ChatGPT, I would say. And these are the links to some of those things I saw. So and I just kind of put those things together to make that presentation. Like I mentioned, I work in a cloud company, and some of the customers that I work with, a number of them, we have these roles spread towards across different, teams, different personas. And at the end of the day, what I say is doing data profession on a cloud platform allows you to work with different people, but then contributing to the same bucket of products. So different products for different kind of people. But at the end of the day, what happens is you have a cloud platform that that you build everything on top of, and makes life easy for everyone, because you can easily interact with these tools and get your solution seamlessly. I think that would be it from me. If anyone has any question, please let me know, and I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sadeeq. Can we get a big virtual round of applause for Sadeeq and that amazing talk? Thank you so much. We have a question from Kelly. She asks, will we get a copy of the slides? She would love to look over them all again. So Sadeeq, would you be able to share the slides with us so we can share it with the audience?
Yes, I'll share the slide with the organizers and they can distribute.
Awesome, thank you. How can we get in touch with you?
So
where can we find you?
Unlike the first speaker, which I'm sure we're probably in the same age bracket. I can be reached on Twitter, maybe not Instagram, but of course you can reach me online, and that's my website. It's up and running, so you can easily reach me on any of this medium. But I'm very active on Twitter, so you'll probably easily get me there.
So everyone just like bombard him, slide in his DMs at him, get his attention, and remind him to send over the slides.
Yeah, sure.
Sadeeq, thank you so much. We have a few people in the chat who are wanting to get into data and doing some courses. Actually, one of them said they're doing a data analytics Google certification. They've only got 2 more modules to go.
Oh,
so
awesome.
we have some budding data. Who
Awesome.
knows what role they eventually get into, but some budding data people in the chat. And we also have a data scientist amongst us as well.
That's awesome. Please get in touch. Let's get together. And sometimes if you're local, sometimes I'm in London. I love to attend events. I go to a lot of events. So I'm going to Black Tech Week. I'm going to a couple of events coming up in London very soon. So if you see me in person, please just let me know. And if it's online, we can probably have like a virtual coffee chat and get to talk about.
Are there any data specific like meetups or communities or groups that you are a member of?
Yes, so I was in Lisbon before now. So I spent like 4 years in Portugal, Lisbon, before coming to the UK. And I was part of the Google developer group. I was actually a member before I became an organizer, a co-organizer as well. So and then since I came to the UK, I've been I'm part of the Pi Data London. So last year actually, I volunteered with them during the PyCon event. Then there is also GDG. So I attend a lot of GDG is Google Developer Group. And what that means is they're a group of people that, they use technology, the Google Cloud technology, and it's a user group. So they have events like almost every day. So you should check GDG Cloud and GDG London. And there's a lot of GDGs in different areas, GDG Reading, GDG Milton Keynes. So I try to go to a lot of those events just to, improve my tech skills and also see what people are actually doing. Because I try to use Python a little bit. I do, PyCon event as well. I think next month I should be in Dublin for the PyCon in Dublin. I actually should be in Canada next week actually for Apache Airflow. So there's a whole lot of, one thing I would say is if there's a technology that you use and you use very well, it's good for you to go to those events. In 2019, I went to PyCon DE. That's the Python events conference for DE. That's Germany. And it's really interesting because they have like this 2 days workshop outside of the 3 days of the event where they actually sit people down and, teach them about how to use Python to do certain things. So you will find your community there, and you will be able to, mix with people, see what people are doing, maybe contribute to open source and things like that. So I would say go to meetup.com. You will see and look for tech events in your area, and you can search by technologies. So if you're like this kind of, you love Google technologies like me, you'll probably want to look for GDG, Google Developer Group. If you're someone who loves to work with Python, you can search for Pi Data. So Pi Data in your environment. So for people in London, if you search for Pi Data London, they have meetups like every two weeks or something. If you're someone who loves to work with Airflow, there's Airflow meetup as well. And they do hold meetups like every month. So you will find your community. Just if you're still not able to find one, tell me what technology you work with, catch up with me, and I will tell you where the next meetup is happening, if that's okay.
Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate that. Can we get another virtual round of applause for Sadeeq, please? That was an amazing talk. And very strangely, while you were doing a talk, I had an Amazon delivery, and it is a little book of big fashion data.
Wow,
So it's
awesome.
It's my bedtime reading. Get me back into fashion and data at the same time. What?
Great timing.
Perfect timing.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Up next, we have the wonderful Daizy. Daizy, are you ready?
Yeah, thanks, Tanya.
The floor is all yours. Can we please get a warm welcome for Daizy, everyone?
Thank you.
I'll make sound.
All right, Sadeeq, thanks for that. It was quite intense. So I'm actually just going to, air it down a bit. Mine has nothing technical. It's just about my journey as a software engineer, basically sojourning through your career. And since I'm a techie, it would be a tech career. So my name is Daizy Obura. I'm based in Kampala, Uganda. I'm a software engineer. I specialize Vue.js and Django. When I'm not engineering, I'm being a creative. I'm really interested in the creative arts. I do interior decor and design, and I also actually make jewelry. So let's get right into it. I just have a few minutes of your time. And what I'm going to say, everything I'm going to share is just tailored to me, but it could probably help someone else thrive at whatever level of your journey you are at whatever stage. So just take a look at my origin, what inspired me or motivated me to get into tech, my milestones, just a few, thriving in my tech journey or your tech journey, the challenges I've faced, and then where we are today, where I am today, and what I'm going to look at going forward. So just get into my journey, starting as a software engineer. My Form 6 vacation, I actually was working in an internet cafe, and there was a gentleman who was an engineer. I think he did more of IT, but he had a passion for writing code. And so there was all this black and yellow and green screen going on his computer that I didn't quite understand, but it intrigued me. I actually developed an interest. So whenever he'd come through, because he'd work part-time, he was doing school alongside work, I would just sit by him and watch what he was doing curiously. So this was just before the time I joined university. So when applications opened up, I had a clue of what I wanted to do. I actually wanted to pursue computer science as the course, but I think it was closed. I just got into software engineering narrowly. Applications were actually closed at the uni that I finally went to, and that's Makerere University. So I got into software engineering first year, and I was a little thrown off because I didn't expect all the concepts we were learning. You know, it's actually a very theoretical course if you come and do it from Uganda. We started doing more of practicals maybe in my third year. It was a 4-year course in my third year. So there's a lot of this theory that I just didn't quite understand. So I think my passion kind of it shrunk, to be honest. And it was kind of hard to make it rise up again. But eventually, as I was doing my final year project, this is a team project, I had to lead my group, and then, you know, getting behind the machine and actually putting A and A together, B and B together up until Z, it started to make more sense, and then my passion started to grow. But along the way, we did internship, of course, and I got exposure. This is where I got one of my first mentors, who just guided me during my growth, my start out, should I say. And then I landed my first job before I actually graduated because of the recommendations I got from my lecturers. So during the course of my uni, I did some research and documentation that was appreciated by lecturers, and not just me, but anybody else who did the same was equally exposed. They had a vantage point because of working together with the bigger people in the field. So up until now, up until a month ago, rather, I was a head lead at an amazing company called BPO Seats that does seat leasing based in the Philippines. So I've been working remotely for a while now. And then I just took a sabbatical to reassess my goals. You'll see down later, I'll talk about setting and assessing of goals. Where do I want to go now after all this time of doing the basic front end and back end? What next? Because I'm not going to be here forever. So then finally, as I said right now, I want to go and assess myself. I think I'm interested in project management and cloud engineering, which I'll talk about later. So a few milestones, winning a hackathon. I've won a hackathon with my team before in the recent past. This was a UNODC blockchain hackathon, really about using blockchain, as you can see, but mine was particularly about whistleblowing and how we can leverage the capabilities of the blockchain technology, and then bootcamp challenges as well. So I like to look out for these things that will actually challenge me, because there's a type of nature I have. If I don't push myself, if I don't look for a challenge, I'll probably lay back and forget about the thing. So it's because because I'm self-aware, there are certain things I have to keep looking out for. And then when it comes to work, my former workplace, it was project management, hitting all the product milestones, and finally handing over. It was a handover that I finally decided to resign from my job, because I was done with that product that I'd worked with for a while. And then promotions at work is also a very big achievement for me. I think it happened about thrice. And because I appreciate that there's a special craft about each and every one of us in our different stages. And the moment you identify your craft, you're able to polish it and stand out, and it can only get you as far as you want it to. So here is just a few suggestions for thriving in your journey. It's how I managed to thrive. If at all I did, this is how I managed to do it. So setting and achieving of goals, we all need to be guided by goals. It's like a light on our path. Otherwise, you just you're blown by the wind. You just go wherever the wind takes you. So at every stage, I took a pause, a very deliberate pause, to assess my goals and ask myself a few questions, just doing an introspection, really, to see if I'm still adding value in the workplace, if I'm growing as an individual, and how it's impacting, how my career is impacting the other areas of my life, because it's not just about work. And then mentorship and help, very, very vital. People have been ahead of you. People have grown wiser. People have observed patterns. People have appreciated perspective, really. So mentorship and seeking out help has really helped me to thrive in my journey. We won't know it all. You'll be bleak sometimes, you'll be helpless sometimes, you'll be overwhelmed sometimes, and you definitely need someone standing by you. You need a group of people to relate with, of course, to share with, but also to uplift you and encourage you. Then continuous learning, it doesn't stop, especially in our field. We're just, our minds haven't even imagined how far tech is going to take us. So because of that, you can't just sit down. You have to be continually exposed. There are tools and resources you should have up your sleeve to help you. There's lots on YouTube. There's lots of podcasts, courses, networking, so important. Lightning talks such as this that just help you. In our previous speaker just gave us a whole lot of info about data analysis. So you can see how these expose us to a lot. Meetups that he also talked about, expose yourself to meetups, gather around with minds that think alike, that have the same interests, and you will only grow. And then finally, a work-life balance to avoid burnout, because developers get a lot of burnout because, you could just wake up in the morning, whatever time you wake up, maybe 6 a.m. or 8 a.m. And before you know it, it is 6 p.m. But it's not because anyone has locked you to your PC, but there's a certain zone that your mind can go into when you start off, maybe when you have a goal to achieve, or when there's a bug that's like really irritating you and you don't want to leave your desk before you're done. And so if imagine you have 7 consecutive days like that, and at the end of the month at 28, of course you will crash. So it's very vital to set boundaries, respect and communicate your own boundaries, block off time. This is time for work. This is time for exercise. This is time for yada yada. Whatever it is, really just set your boundaries. You have to start by respecting them yourself, and then others will respect them as well. Organizing my work days with all the utilities that we have out there, especially the calendars and the to-do list, prioritizing of tasks. I once had someone say at the end of the day, and I started practicing it, at the end of the day, write down your 3 top tasks for the next day. And when you start out your day, just check out those 3 and then continue like that. Or whatever you didn't do the previous day, bring it to the top of the list of the next day. And then delegate, we work in teams in our field. There's no one-man team in this one. We work in teams, so there's lots of people who are brought together to do certain things well. You can't do everything yourself, so delegate as much as possible, avoid overcommitting. None of us has superpowers, so we need to be really honest. If you realize you're not going to be able to deliver something on time, speak up on time to your supervisor or manager or whoever you report to. And then self-care, very important. Eat right, exercise, get time to do all these things, have a great circle of friends that broaden your perspective to life, and so many other tips on how to thrive in this journey, but this is what I could quickly pick out. And then challenges and adversities, of course, this will always be there. And, tech for a very long time has been perceived as a field for gentlemen. So up until this day, of course, we still struggle. My very own was getting people to trust my work, my effort, my approaches with management, and my ideas and suggestions. But I think the most important thing is your output, speaking on your behalf. And so it doesn't help much going into a pity party and, asking yourself all these questions. Just do your part, do your best, cheerlead yourself, seek growth. If at all, the criticism you get could be true. You have multiple ways of turning it around. If you lack in a certain area, that's an opportunity to grow. Keep going back to the drawing board. Measure the value that you're actually bringing. Are you bringing value? Yes, I am. So let me keep on working, and eventually my output will speak on my behalf and I'll rise up the ranks. These challenges will always be there. And finally, oops. Okay, here and now, as I mentioned earlier, I took a sabbatical just to assess my goals, where I want to what I want to get into at this point in life. And we have project management. I was doing some reading to do with project management, and then cloud engineering. I actively have a group that I'm training with over the weekend to do with cloud engineering. It's going to run for about 6 months. So I'm very curious to see where it will lead me. Right now we're doing Google Cloud, but eventually I think we'll get into AWS, and I wish myself nothing but the best. So that was it from me. Thank you for your time.
Can we get a big virtual round of applause for Daizy? Thank you so much. How can people get in touch with you or find out a bit more about you?
Here we are. This is my contact, and that's my email. On Twitter,
Awesome.
my name is Daizy Obura. LinkedIn, the same.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's very inspiring. And Serafina put in the chat that you've gone from internet cafe to software engineering, which is pretty, that could be the name of your autobiography, internet cafe to software engineering. Really inspiring. And I hope a lot of people in the chat who want to break into tech can take a lot from that. Just from your curiosity has led you to a whole new career and a whole new, everything, right? Thank you so much. Does anyone in the chat have any questions for Daizy? If you do, pop them in now. This is your final chance. Daizy, how long have you been in tech?
Also, this would be my 5th year.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And so you're going to be learning about cloud engineering with your group over the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Which part have you started already, or you are
Yeah.
going to start? You started.
We just-
What parts
maybe-
have you started? What parts have you started with so far?
Oh, just like really the architecture, and now we're just going to dive into Google Cloud as a product.
Which parts of Google Cloud? There's a lot of different moving
Okay.
parts. It's a lot of different parts to Google Cloud. Which parts are you all going to be looking into?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Which parts of Google Cloud are you looking into with your group?
I think we're actually going to look at the whole, everything that it
Oh,
is. So running for
okay.
about a month, we're just going to be focusing on that.
Wow. I wish you the best of luck as well.
Thanks.
Maybe come back and tell us about it. Tell us how you're getting on.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Daisy. We really appreciate it. And Sadeeq might want to have a word with you afterwards, as he is a Google employee. Hint.
Please shout out
Oh.
anytime you think you need
There you
anything in
go.
terms of, please let me
Yeah.
know. I'm happy to jump on a call. If there's anything I actually take some courses on Google Cloud, data engineering in Google Cloud with some organizations. So if you have anything you want to discuss, maybe some things that you couldn't get, please shout out, and I'll be happy to do that with you.
Thank you, Sadeeq.
Up next, we have got Betty. Betty, you still there?
Yes, I am still here.
Amazing. Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
The floor is all yours.
Thank
Can you
you.
please get a virtual round of applause for Betty?
Thank you. So I didn't come as prepared as everyone else with the slide, but I just want to briefly speak over like my tech experience and my interest in Web3 space, and then also a project I'm working on right now, which like is a fashion NFT marketplace. So I got into tech a year ago. I came from a business background, but then transferred into a software engineering master's course, which like fast-tracked my development skills within the past year. So right now I picked up a lot of new skills in front-end and web development within like the past 3 months to develop this project that I'm going to talk about. Even in my bachelor's, I always had an interest in like blockchain technology, Web3, all these buzzwords were very interesting to me. So I ended up deep diving into like that area a lot. And when NFTs came about, it just struck something in me where I was like, oh, okay, this is something I want to get involved in. So I purchased my first NFT in 2020. And then things were just like, I would just jump on anything that was going on in the Web3 space, so gaming, the metaverse, like all of those interactions with the blockchain, I just found very interesting. So now I'm kind of going to go into my project. So I'm currently working on a fashion NFT marketplace, and this is kind of like bringing in all the Web3 jargon words and then all of the cool fashion ideas and putting them into one. So my idea was that, there's become this really big idea now that fashion doesn't really have to be worn. Like fashion is just, it's a statement in itself. It doesn't have to be worn on a person for it to stand out. And that's really being emphasized in the NFT fashion world. And I really like it. So Paco Rabanne came out with the 12 unwearable dresses, which was an amazing revelation of dresses made out of plastic and metal that was so unconventional, couldn't be worn on a day-to-day, but looked amazing. And he converted it into an NFT collection that sold for like, each one maybe sold for $150, $160, which is something big for something that people can't wear. And then things just grew a lot within the past couple of years. So now the NFT fashion industry is said to be worth, I think, 6 billion within 2030. I think this was said by Forbes this year. So there's a big like growth potential in the market, and that was something that interested me. And I was like, okay, I can pick up some new skills, and a lot of interactions with the blockchain mostly go through smart contracts, which are like automated contracts that are coded for, like, let's say you want to make a purchase of an NFT, a smart contract will handle that and take your wallet ID and all this other information, and then say, okay, I have this item and I have this person's payment, and I don't need like someone else to verify this because I already know I have it, and I'm just going to do the transaction myself. So that's one of the big things about the Web3 space. It doesn't really require external external authentication from someone else. Like, it stands alone and can be like reviewed by peers. So before I just keep going on and on, I'm quickly going to share my screen and maybe show you some of the features of my marketplace. Okay, so this is kind of the homepage of my marketplace. You can see there's some moving text, some placeholders like of information, and then you can see the top collections that are being viewed. Then you have just like a small Q&A area. This is still in production, so it's not fully done. So there are some placeholders. Then there's some contact us page where users can fill out a form and it'd go to my website, to my email. And then you have the marketplace feature, which is one of the main things. Some of these I've called from OpenSea API. And if you know anything about the Web3 space, OpenSea is really one of the most profound like NFT marketplaces out there. They're very well known and liked by a lot, even though they don't have very good royalties for their creators, which is something I hope to improve in my website. And so here are some of the items that I fetched from their API. You can just scroll through, users can filter or like ask for something specific they want. Like, yeah, it will. Oh. Well, I don't know what I'm looking for, maybe. Yeah, so there's these items, and then they can open it to like a page where they can choose to purchase it, see the price, see the item that they're actually buying with a description. And then I've integrated like a Wallet Connect API that is called that will connect users to their wallets, external wallets. So my chosen wallet that I have is MetaMask. I think it's also quite a popular one in the Web3 space compared to the other ones. And it's mostly used for interactions with the Ethereum blockchain. So I'll just connect quickly, and then my wallet ID will come up where I can access these two pages. So these two pages weren't really accessible before this because I don't want people to come and create things and not be able to have their signature on it. Like, everyone should have ownership of whatever they put on this website. I think that's very important. And that's one of the main concepts of fashion NFTs, that it's very clear to know who owns that NFT. And the interaction will be like, have an ID that will be seen on the blockchain. So no one can really counterfeit what you've created. Like, it streamlines a lot of issues that people have in the fashion industry, like ownership and like someone taking your intellectual property. So this can really just track who owns what idea, who came up with it, and stuff like that. And it kind of also opens up the world to like items that you couldn't really come up with. Like, I remember recently I came across an NFT that was a jacket with like chains that went around the person's face, and I was like, okay, this couldn't be created in real life, but it's being sold for like thousands on the internet, which is amazing. So I'll just quickly connect again. And then here's where people can mint their own NFTs that will show on the marketplace. And then they could see all the NFTs that they've bought / collected or created, or any collections that they decide to make. So I think it's really important to be able to categorize your NFTs by collection, because a lot of fashion items come out in a collection. So they usually have an autumn, a winter, or like just any random collection that they choose to do, maybe for a fashion week or for a specific type of inspiration. So this is something I incorporated into my website. So here's a collection. As you can see, they don't seem like they're part of a collection, but they are. And then I'll just show you another one. This one was hosted by DressX. I think this is a really beautiful collection. Some of these NFTs also move, which gives an extra element of, seeing a fashion item on a person, which I really like. Let me find one that does that. Yeah, so these ones, they have a bit of motion from what I remember. Oh, I don't think they do, but yeah, this is still in production, but this is the idea I've had so far. And if anyone has any feedback on, how I could improve this idea or anything that I can change, please feel free to drop a comment or something so I can get feedback. Thank you guys for taking the time out to hear my idea.
Thank you so much for that. That is amazing. It's just so over the weekend, when I was buying my little fashion data book, I was looking at some of AI Fashion Week that was in April this year, and just went down a rabbit hole of looking at all fashion technology. So seeing this and like all spark interest. Now I'm like idea. So right, I love that. I love that because I've used OpenSea and I have problems with it as well. So that is, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. You're getting a lot of love in the chat. Kelly loves the design, by the way, of the website.
Yeah.
Actually, so a few people love the design of the website. So if someone wanted to get in touch with you to maybe provide feedback or contribute in some way, how can they do that?
So I would say go on my LinkedIn or email me. Maybe I can drop that in this chat and you could put in.
I'll put it. Yeah. That's amazing. So I'll drop your email address. So I'll put your LinkedIn instead of your email address because I don't trust people on the internet.
Okay.
But for your safety. So someone's asked, what is NFT?
So NFT is a non-fungible token. It's usually an image or a video that will hold data that be stored on the blockchain. It basically holds information for a transaction.
Grace, I hope that answers your question. Serafina said, technology is very broad. I never imagined fashion being part of it.
No, it's not just fashion. There's so much getting involved. So yeah, I think it's something everyone should explore, especially because this is kind of an evolution from the Web 2 space where users get more empowerment and you get more authorization over your data, and you get a bit more moving space to understand how your data is being used out there.
How did you think fashion and technology, what made you go down that road?
I think initially I started in my bachelor's when I was told to come up with an idea for a project and then literally create something innovative. That's what the project was. And then I came up with an AR fashion show. And then after that, I just started looking more into how fashion can be integrated with tech, because that was my two interests. So in my dissertation, I started working on fashion. No, I started working on finance. Integration of blockchains into finance. So I thought that would be a great way for people to get transparency. And then I just deep dived into it during COVID and started learning so much about the space.
Oh, down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
If anyone's interested in like fashion tech, there's a bunch of like really interesting TikToks as well. You can see people doing all kinds of amazing stuff down. Like, I wish I was fashion talented, not just tech talented, so I can combine the two. There's some amazing fashion tech stuff happening, and beauty tech. If anyone's interested in beauty tech as well, there's a lot happening in that space. Just look up like YSL lipstick printer. So YSL's now got a print, something that you can print your own custom lipstick color.
Wow.
if you have the funds for that.
Mm-hmm.
So technology is very broad. It's in every single industry. So if you do want to break into tech, or you're bored with the company you're in at the moment, think about your interests and what will keep you going and what will drive you, because whatever your interests are, technology is involved in it. So I'm really glad that you're able to find a fusion of the two things that you love. And fashion technology is like just at the beginning. There's a lot more that's going to come out in the next few years. I can just see it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you again, Tanya, for this space. I'll just jump off so the next person can talk.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can we get another virtual round of applause for Betty, please?
Thank you.
And we have our final speaker of the night. Dorothy, are you still there? Do we still have you?
Hi, Tanya. Yes, I'm still here.
Amazing.
I'm around.
It's over to you.
I'm good. So let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, so in my case, I was supposed to present about introduction to FastAPI, but before that, during the last 6 months, I worked in a certain company called Untapped Global, and I really love how they were using the FastAPI Python web framework. That they used it to build APIs. So I really love the framework, and and it was my first time being taught FastAPI and getting to do some of the projects with the FastAPI Python web framework, and I was really in love with it, and that's why I'm here to present about it. Yeah, so and to talk more about it. So today I'm going to just introduce a little bit of what FastAPI entails. So before that, I'll introduce myself. So my name is Dorothy Akoth from Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm a Python developer. And I use Python frameworks such as FastAPI and Django. So those are the two frameworks that I've used so far. And the one that I got in love with was FastAPI. Yeah, so I'm going to talk more about FastAPI, but just a little bit of introduction of it. Yeah, so in my next slide, so just the Lightning Fast Python web framework. Yeah, so what is FastAPI? So okay, FastAPI is a modern web framework of Python that is fast, and it's also simple, and it is used to build APIs for the web applications. Yeah, so so why did I choose FastAPI? So one of the main benefits of the FastAPI is that it provides an automatic API documentation. As you can see it in my okay, there's a certain image that contains the API documentations, but it's not clearly, like someone can't see it clearly, but I'll demonstrate it after this so that you can see the API documentation. So this API documentation, it also makes it easy to keep your API documentation up to date. So yeah, so this feature is also especially useful when working in teams or when you have multiple versions of an API. Yeah, so in my next slide, oh, sorry about that. So yeah, I've just talked to you about what FastAPI is, and this is what it entails. It's just a modern web framework for building APIs. So we can use Python 3.6 plus or 3.6, 3.7, 3.10, yeah, and above. Yeah, that's when we can use FastAPI. Yes, sorry about that. I misarranged my slide. Sorry about that. The second slide is getting started with FastAPI. So first of all, when you want to use FastAPI, you should make sure that you have some of the Python packages manager installed. That is, and we use pip to install the packages. So first of all, you have to have your FastAPI installed, and that we use a command called pip install FastAPI. So you can install it in your terminal or VS Code or PyCharm, whichever editor that you are using. So once it is installed, the next step is just create a simple file. Or you can create main.py or main.py or or anything you want to call your file, your Python file. Yes. And then we are going to, from that, inside your file, you can import the module. So the module, you can just say from FastAPI, import FastAPI. Okay, we are going to do it, but first of all, let me just speak, like, just to introduce you on what we are going to implement on our code after this. Yeah. So yeah. So from there you can define a new FastAPI instance and start defining your routes. So, and from there you can see your hello world examples, which you've created by defining a route for the route URL and returning a string that says hello world. Okay, just be patient, but I'm going to demonstrate it in a code form or in a code format. Yeah. So from there, so when we want to build a FastAPI, so building APIs is FastAPI is a breed thanks to its intuitive syntax and powerful features. Defining routes is as simple as creating a function and decorating it with the appropriate HTTP method. I hope every one of you knows some of the HTTP methods, which I can say you can create. Okay, can I just say CRUD method? So we create, we read, yeah, CRUD, create, read, and delete, yeah, and update, sorry, and update. So request and response methods can be defined using Python type annotations, making it easy to validate data and generate documentation. So most of the time we use, in FastAPI, we use Pydantic, that is just for validating data. Yeah, for validating data. And we also have dependencies, which can also be easily injected into routes, allowing for modular and reusable calls. Yes, so let me just finish with the slides, then we can get to the coding, like a little bit of it, so that you can see what it entails. So from there, you can test your FastAPI code in either, we have Swagger UI or Postman, but why do I like Swagger UI? Swagger UI will give you a documentation, like it will give you like tags, like if okay, tags of the models. So let's take an example that you are working on the users okay, you are working on the blog, and in that blog you have users table and the blog table. So from there so the Swagger UI will just give you a documentation on what blogs entails and the users entails. Yeah. That's all. Yeah, so I guess I hope I'm going to do a presentation, a little bit of coding, but not that much, because I need also to explain whatever I'm going to code. It's just a simple code that I'm going to do. Yeah, it's a simple code. So, so these are my contacts. I have LinkedIn. You can reach me through LinkedIn, email, and my website. Yeah, so that's all. But before I leave, I have to demonstrate whatever I said in my my slide. First of all, yeah. So let me just share my editor PyCharm. So I'm going to create another file. Let me just create it. I'm going to create another file. Let me call it demo.py. So
Dorothy, we can't see your pie charm.
oh my goodness. Okay, sorry. Let me stop sharing this one. Okay. Sorry guys, sorry. Entire window. Yeah, let me share entire window. Sorry, I only shared the only part for, yeah, sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, I hope now you can see my PyCharm editor.
We can see it.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm just going to do a little bit of coding. Not that much, but just an introduction of it, of FastAPI, so that you can see how I've implemented it on my code. Like, yeah, so I hope you can also see my presentation. I'm not presenting.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, so I'm just going to follow whatever I wrote in my, yes. I'm going to follow as I write. Yeah, so yes, can't go back. Yes, so to get started with FastAPI, the first thing is to install it. So from this one, I've already installed. I hope I've installed it. I've already installed FastAPI. So let me just check. Let me deactivate first. And, so let me. Yeah, so I've activated my Python environment. Yeah, so for you to start working with the FastAPI, you have to install FastAPI. That is using pip install. Yeah, so required, it means that I've already installed it before. So that's why it's bringing me required already satisfied. So I'm just going to okay, from here I've installed, simply run pip install in your terminal or command prompt. Once FastAPI installed, the next step is to create a new Python. also a new Python file that is I've created demo.py. Yeah, so from there you can define a new FastAPI instance and start defining your routes. So okay, so after creating a file that is demo.py, so I'm going to import FastAPI module. That is by using from FastAPI import FastAPI. Yeah. Then from there, once installed, once I've imported the FastAPI model, so from there I can define a new FastAPI instance. And how do we define a new FastAPI instance? So I'm going to use app is equals to FastAPI. Okay, so here I've defined FastAPI instance. Then from there you can define a new FastAPI instance and start defining your route. A simple hello world example can be created by defining a route for the URL and returning a string that says hello world. So from here, I'm going to define my routes. And first of all, we have to use @app. I'm going to explain that one because I've explained it in my slides. So I'm just going to give you a brief of it. So @app. So this @app, it's a decorator. @app is a decorator, and @app.get. This is an HTTP method. So we are going to define a route. Let's call it item. Yeah. So here I'm defining a route. Yes, I'm going to get a route. So, and then I'm going to define define a read item. Maybe I'm going to read an item from the, I'm going to read an item, define a function that reads an item, then returns, what can we return? So here I'm going to return can I return an object, a JSON object? Yeah. Now it's giving me an error. Okay, so called hello world. What should be that? No. Oh yeah, I've put returns instead of returns. Yeah, so so this is just a simple introduction to FastAPI, a simple code of FastAPI that I've defined, and yeah, this is how it looks like. So so when I want to test it in my browser and see whatever I was saying in my slide, so this is how you can test it. When running, when you want to test it in your local machine, first there is, we call it, we are going to run a UVCon. I'm going to explain this later. UVCon, not main, but okay, UVCon with the name of the file, that is demo.py, then an app that you define here. Then we are going to reload it. Then it's going to work here. It has worked, but error could not import demo.py. Right. Okay. Giving me embarrassment. so this one has worked. Sorry, the last part, the reason why the first one didn't work, it's because I put a file instead of, okay, it was saying demo.py. I'm not supposed to put I'm not supposed to include py. Yeah, so that's why it didn't work. So I just have to use demo, then the name of the app, then the app that we initialized here, then we reload. So if I go to my browser, hope it's going to work. Ooh, it worked. So we have this one I'm going to demonstrate it using Swagger UI. So we are going to put a /docs so that we can see the API documentation that I was talking about. Yeah, so yeah, this is here. So this is we are getting reading the item from there. You can try it out. So I'm going to find the hello world, the response body, which I've returned here. Yes. So so that's all from my side. And I hope you've enjoyed. Any question?
Thank you so much, Dorothy. I've never actually heard of FastAPI before. I said it looks really cool. And did you say it's got Swagger built in?
Pardon?
You say it's got Swagger built into it.
I can't hear you clearly.
Did you say that FastAPI has got Swagger built into it?
Ooh, I can't. Can you write, please? I can't get you.
Okay. No worries. No
Okay.
worries. I'll ask you afterwards. Don't worry about that. It's fine.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. That was
Okay.
really, really interesting. And I hope
Yeah,
everyone here will go after this, will go and check out FastAPI.
Yeah, I am supposed to include a link or share a link so that they can practice on their own. It's called, let me just share the link. The documentation link for the FastAPI. It's FastAPI. It's can I say it's very simple and easy to understand, and yeah, it's not like Django or Flask, but it's very easy to understand. Because I just started it this year, but I got like, it's just so amazing to work with. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, keep in touch and let us know how you get on and what kind of things you build with it in the future.
Okay.
Amazing. Now, before I let everyone go, we have one question in the chat that's come up for Betty. Betty, are you still there?
Let me just share the.
Hey, I'm not sure if Betty is still there, but who asked it? Natalie, you asked earlier, do you know the route of getting into fashion technology without being a graduate? Betty has said to me in the background that she would recommend search for some courses and boot camps on the internet. There are amazing platforms such as Coursera and edX that can help you find self-paced courses. These options will help you build the skills you need. And happy to hear you that Betty has sparked an interest in you. So definitely have a look on Coursera, have a look on edX for any self-paced courses that you can do in your own time to get started. Now, before we all go, and I'll let everyone enjoy their evening, can we please get one final virtual round of applause for all of our speakers tonight? And I'll actually do a proper round of applause with sound so we can all hear it. Thank you all. This has been amazing, and I've learned so much from you all tonight. If anyone here in the chat or in the replay crew has been inspired by our speakers, just drop a comment, let us know what particular part inspired you. If they've inspired you to maybe think, I would like to do a talk, that seems fun. Well, guess what? Lightning Talks come back in November. We've actually had quite a few signups for November. So I think I might have to bring it back again in January. So this will definitely not be the last round of Lightning Talks that we are going to do. And if you ever want to give it a go, you're feeling a bit brave, or even if you're nervous and still want to try, sign up, become a CBF speaker, do a short, it doesn't have to be long if you don't want to, do a short talk on whatever tech topic you would like. It's a safe space. We encourage mistakes. You don't have to be a perfectionist. You don't even have to prepare slides if you don't want to. So definitely, if you are ready, sign up to be a speaker for Coding Black Females Lightning Talks. So for anyone out there who is thinking about breaking into technology, so we've had a few people in the live chat who are considering breaking into tech or trying to. This time next week, we have an event called Your Journey, Aligning Your Tech Career for Success. It's specifically for people who want to break into the industry. So you'll hear from people who are already established in their careers and hear about their journeys and how they got into the tech industry. So if you are interested in that, sign up and join us this time next week. And with that note, I've been Tanya, I've been your host, and it was lovely seeing you all again. And I will see you at the next Lightning Talks in November 15th to be precise. I'll see you all in 2 months' time. Bye.